Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. To get the most out of this video, listen to the introduction to understand what is going to happen astrologically this week and when it will occur. Then use the timestamps in the description box or comments section below to go to your sun, moon and rising signs to see how things will generally affect you. This is a general read of the astrological energies that will be playing out this week. For a specific assessment of how the planetary energies will affect you personally, I would suggest getting a reading with a professional astrologer. You can do so with me through the Guiding Star Astrology website. If you're new to astrology, you are so welcome on this platform. If you would like to learn to read your own astrology chart, you can do a short, fun course with me for $35 Australian. The link is in the description below. Thank you to all my YouTube subscribers and my Patreon family members. Without you, this video and its message would not be possible. Well, hello my lovely friends. Thank you for joining me for this week's Astro Weather Report. It is a delight to be with all of you beautiful people in YouTube land. It's an exciting week. I'm thrilled about this week because this week we will be celebrating Neptunalia, which is an ancient celebration. You've probably heard about Saturnalia, know all about that. It's where Christmas comes from. But Neptunalia is something very, very different, and it's celebrated at this time of the year. In the Northern Hemisphere, when things are hot, at midsummer almost, hot, dry, that kind of thing. And Neptune, of course, rules water. So there's a celebration of water at the driest time of the year. Now here where I live, it's winter time, it's freezing, it's cold, it's wet, and we have a lot of water. So yeah, we can be celebrating water down here in Australia with gusto because it's all around us. So Neptunalia also had some spiritual connotations to it as well. If you want to find out more about Neptunalia and what it was all about back then and how we might be able to incorporate its lessons into this lifetime, then check out my Patreon page. We're having a special Astro chat, a live chat with me and all the patrons who want to join in. That's happening this week for Neptunalia as well, where we're going to have a big discussion on the 22nd of July, Australian time, about Neptunalia and what it means. And then there'll be also opportunity to ask questions and have a chat just generally about astrology with one another too. It's lots of fun. Can't wait. So that's Neptunalia. This week also we have a full moon that's going to be occurring on the 24th. This will be, I've got my moon in Sagittarius, but this full moon will be occurring over here in Aquarius as well. Now that chart of the full moon and the implications of that full moon I discuss also on my Patreon channel. The link's in the description below if you want to find out more. So this week we're looking at the best energy. What is the best energy this week astrologically that we are working with and that we're going to discuss for all signs? And this week we're looking at Venus opposite. Firstly, Venus moving into Virgo on the 22nd of July Australian time. Check out the description box to find out all the details for your part of the world. But we're going to be having an opposition. When Venus moves into Virgo, we're going to be having an opposition with Jupiter. And so that's our big energy this week that we're going to be breaking down for all signs. Before I get to what Venus opposition Jupiter is all about, I need to let you know what the best days are this week. If you've got plans, if you're doing things this week, as we all are, really the best days, and there's a couple of them, are going to be the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Now, keep in mind you will also want to check for your void of course moon. If you're going to take action on something or instigate something, you want to not do it when the moon is void. So check an app regarding that for your time in your part of the world. But, hello, someone's tooting the horn outside. But generally, they are going to be good days. There might be some tension for a couple of hours on July the 22nd. That's Australian time as well. Might be the 21st of July in Europe and the USA. During those couple of hours, we're going to have 3 planets, the Sun, the Moon, and Venus, all at 29 degrees. So at that time, there will be that anaretic degree influence. You know, that anaretic degree is sort of like the tension, the labor pain. Something is about to be born, but it hasn't come yet. It hasn't arrived yet. And we're feeling that tension of something's about to be birthed. So there's a couple of hours there. But one thing that's very good at this time is that the Sun will be at the wealth degree during these days. Sun is at a wealth degree down here in Cancer, which could be very helpful financially for some people, especially if you've got planets around the latter degrees of Cancer. I did a video recently talking all about the wealth and bankruptcy in a chart. So if you have planets around the latter degrees of Cancer, you're getting activation from the Sun now. That could be very positive. The Sun is there for this entire 3 days on the 20th, 21st and 22nd. Yay! So back to our focus energy, which is Venus opposite Jupiter. Well, this is a yummy energy. In fact, I find that any aspects that Jupiter makes tend to be quite yummy, if you want to use that term. They aren't perfect, but then neither are they going to smash us to smithereens either. So we have lots to be thankful for when we get Jupiter transits, even the hard aspects. So it's going to get us because here's Jupiter, here's Venus. It gets us hungering for good times, for pleasures, for delight, for indulgences. When Venus and Jupiter do a bit of a tango, fun with other people, more nice food, pleasant surroundings, that kind of thing. Now, keep in mind, though, that Venus will have just moved into Virgo. She doesn't like to be in Virgo all that much. Venus is known for being, Venus in Virgo is known for being a little bit more reserved in its expression outwardly, but it's still very sensitive to what other people think. So it's a sensitized placement for sure. There is this energy when Venus is in Virgo of a constant drive to perfect oneself, to better ourselves. So with that in mind, Venus in Virgo says, you know what? Conscious awareness is very important. Let's stop being so hard on ourselves. And we need to consciously activate that thought when Venus is in Virgo, because there is this drive to perfect the self. Venus is self-love. And in Virgo, we're wanting to perfect ourselves so that we're worthy of self-love. It's not a very nice energy. So conscious awareness when Venus is in Virgo is very important to say, okay, I can be kind to myself. I can be compassionate to myself, and I need to make space to do that. I need to plan meticulously to incorporate self-love into my day in order to keep my balance and my harmony. Remember, Venus rules Libra, balance, harmony. So for good health, take a little time while Venus is in Virgo to indulge a little. And actually, Jupiter opposite Venus in Virgo is going to help that, because ordinarily Venus and Jupiter opposition can go to extremes, can be too hedonistic, and we can suffer the consequences of being too gluttonous, too lazy, too la-di-da and overly indulgent. And that can have negative consequences. But when Venus is in Virgo, we actually need a dose of that to balance out the harshness of the perfecting energy of Venus in Virgo that can take things too far and cause us to be very hard on ourselves. And it's a difficult energy, constantly striving to better ourselves. So we might get a reprieve from this opposition of Jupiter to Venus in Virgo. So, okay. We're getting some luxuries. We're getting some energy that supports us in a bit of indulgence, which is a healthy thing to do. And if you need to remedy your own Venus in your chart, doing indulgences on a Friday, Venus's day, is actually a Vedic remedy. So I should listen to that because my Venus is crap. So, I think I need to start taking more pleasures on a Friday for sure. But we do still need to act with a bit of caution, because as I alluded to a moment ago, this is also when Jupiter is in a hard aspect with a planet, it does carry the energy of overindulgence. yeah, not everything about this energy is what it seems. You know, the pleasures that we may encounter might go contrary to our personal morality. Venus's pleasures opposite Jupiter, the planet that is about higher law, morality and ethics. So keep your pleasurable indulgences morally ethical would be my advice with that. The opportunities that we might receive, because these two combined bring opportunity, but there might be too many opportunities. We can't make a choice. Venus is choice. And the decision is just overwhelming because there's just too many good things to choose from. That's another energy. We could also see people making promises that they don't keep with this opposition. Saying that they'll do one thing and then not doing it, or not coming up with the goods. So sort of overextending themselves with their promises. You might overextend yourself with your promises. So to be forewarned, forearmed, and you can actually work with that energy, you know, to not make promises that you can't keep. To conscious awareness is the key. Detaching, observing, knowing why you're thinking what you're thinking, and to recognize, okay, Jupiter's opposite Venus today on the 22nd of July. That's in most parts of the world. Check out the description box below to find out when and where in your part of the world. But on this day, I am going to be very conscious about what I say and the promises that I make and whether I can keep them or not. So don't forget the age-old warning regarding these two planets in a hard aspect. Overindulgence can lead to deep regret. So, you know, that other bit of chocolate might be the reason why you've got to go and get a new pair of jeans. Doesn't that suck when we have to go and get the next size up in our jeans? So overindulgence is fun at the time, but may not be good in the long run. So keep the long-term picture in mind. All right, so that's the energy that we're looking at in this week's Astro Weather Report. Let's take a whiz around the horoscope and find out how it's going to affect us all. Let's start with Virgo. Virgo rising. Whoops, what's that noise on the back of my... Don't know what that was all about. Anyway, Virgo rising, sun or moon people. Well, Venus is being influenced by Jupiter, the planet with the further out energy. So when a planet's further out in the solar system, it actually packs more of a punch than the inner planets. So Venus is receiving this energy from Jupiter that's more intense. It's intense. Jupiter expands whatever it touches, and Jupiter is intensifying Venusian desire for pleasures and so forth. And so it's the house of Venus that we're looking at here. This is where we might be tempted to overindulge. And here in the house of the body, for Virgo rising people, you might be tempted to be, you know, a bit lazier than usual. Maybe you started a new gym membership, but you can't be bothered. You know, I'm going to just curl up on the couch with Netflix, you know. So we might be tempted to overindulge in our bodily laziness right now. Venus, no offense to Venus, but Venus is a bit of a lazy planet. It doesn't, it's not an action-taking planet. It's a receptive planet. So you might be tempted to overindulge your body. Quite simply, Venus in the first house of the body. This is also the area where we might be overwhelmed with choice. Maybe you go to the hairdresser and you've got 5 different haircuts that you want to sort of ask your hairdresser which one, and she's like, I don't know, you choose. And you're like, I can't decide. Do I want to go platinum blonde? Do I want to be red haired? Do I want to get a buzz cut? I don't know, you know. Overwhelmed with choice regarding our body during this particular energy as well. So you might be looking to go and get a treatment at a day spa or a massage or something, and you can't choose which particular day spa treatment or massage you're going to get. They're simple, kind of very superficial kind of explanations, but this area, the house of the body, your self-image, how you identify in the world, is where you might be overwhelmed with choice. Different ways to identify in the world, different ways to use your body in your journey in some way. So that's another thing. And also in the first house, this energy might mean that you are promising more than you can deliver, not other people, because remember, the energy is coming to you, Venus. you are promising more than you might be able to deliver. Keep very conscious of that and only promise what you can realistically manage so that you don't have any regrets from this energy. Okay, Libra rising, sun or moon people. Well, Venus is your ruling planet and it's currently moving through the 12th house. So there might be some wrapping up of certain things, some endings, some finalizing of things to do with Venus, money, beauty, love for Libran ruled people. But this is the area where we might be tempted to overindulge. Sleeping is the obvious one in the 12th house. Too much laziness in bed, not getting out of bed. And maybe this is a time when we need to, remember I said in the intro, we need to honor our Venus by having a little bit of self-care, self-love, and maybe it's an act of self-care or self-love to spend a bit longer in bed on a Saturday morning, you know, to just sort of laze in bed or to take some bed pleasures, and whether that's reading a book in bed, that's something I love to do. I could do that all day. Whether it's watching a movie in bed or having a cup of cocoa in bed, or whether it's having some rompy-pompy in bed, you know, bed pleasures. That's where you might be tempted to overindulge under this energy. Sounds like fun to me. So Libran rising, sun or moon people. Oh, I'm a Libran moon. I'm going to get a good book. You might be tempted to overindulge in those bed pleasures and delights right now. You might also potentially be tempted to, and I don't think you can overindulge in this. I was going to say overindulge in film, photography, art, music. I mean, who can overindulge in that? The more, the better. So go for it, guys. But this also might be an area where you might be overwhelmed with choice, the 12th house. So, for example, you might be overwhelmed with, okay, a friend says, let's go to a gallery on the weekend, and you've got 5 different galleries to go and view some art, or 5 different movies that you want to go and see, or 12th house, you might want to go to 5 different poetry readings. Like, there is going to be a greater amount of choice regarding 12th house things, art, music, creative inspiration that comes from the divine. You might be overwhelmed with spiritual options. You know, you might want to go see an astrologer this week, but you also want to go to a tarot reader, and you think that it might be also good to perhaps connect with a lecture by a spiritual guru type person, and you know, your spiritual options this week are in abundance. That can be good. Sounds like the choice is wonderful when Venus in the 12th house this way. Be careful though, because this is where people can promise more than they can deliver. And who is promising in this case? Well, you know what? It could be spiritual people in your life who are promising more than they can deliver. You know, if you do X, Y, Z, you will suddenly be on spiritual cloud 9, and it doesn't come to be, you know. Also, the 12th house has a big connection to a lot of people in positions of power, especially people with the sun in the 12th house. They often end up in politics and that kind of thing. So it could be people in positions of power, but where there's things going on behind the scenes, who are promising more than they can actually deliver. You might notice that particularly pertinently in your life. You might notice people who are like people who are hidden enemies promising, you know, you don't know that they're your enemy, but they are, and they're promising more than they can deliver, and it ends up being a disaster for you in some way. So these are some areas. Now, ordinarily, the people that we see through the 12th house are our ancestral line. I'm not exactly sure of a scenario where people in our ancestral line and our departed loved ones and, the angels and what have you can be promising us more than they can deliver. I'm not really seeing a correlation in reality there, but that's how the combination would work. This is the house of our past lives. It's the house of our deceased ancestors and so forth. And I'm just trying to correlate how they might be promising more than they can deliver. I don't see a connection there. If you see a connection between those two themes, then share what you see in the comment section below. Well, Scorpio rising, sun or moon people. The energy of Venus in Virgo opposite Jupiter is falling in the 11th house, and this is where you might be tempted to overindulge under this energy. So that can look like maybe indulging in spending too much time with friends, you know, and I mean, I love spending time with friends. I never get enough of spending time with friends. But maybe there are other duties and responsibilities that your soul actually needs. You know, maybe you need to be spending creative time by yourself. Maybe you need to be spending time where you're investing in your duties and responsibilities and your work and so forth. And here you are, you know, living it up with your friends until all hours of the night. You know, the 11th house is all about our friendships and friendship circles and being in community. It could mean that you are overindulging, let's call it, or spending too much time that it causes detriment with a humanitarian organization or a community group or some sort of a networking opportunity even. So there is that energy of overindulgence in socializing and social connections that can manifest this week under this energy. There might also be an energy of being overwhelmed with choice in the 11th house realm. So, you know, you want to go to this astrology club meeting, and then you want to go to the astronomy workshop, and then you want to connect with the night astrology photography group that you're part of, and you just like, I don't know which one to do because there's too many options, too much choice regarding our clubs, our groups, our friendship connections, and who we're going to hang with, and opportunities to be with others. This is also a house of goals and dreams, and you might have too many options under this energy of where steps you can take to enact your hopes, enact your dreams, or take another step towards bringing about your goals and dreams into reality. There might be too many options and you can end up with overwhelm. There might also be people in this realm of your life that may promise more than they can actually deliver in some way. So this might be, the planet is Venus that we're looking at here, and it's in the house of friendship. So your female friends might be promising more than they can actually deliver this week. So take everything with a grain of salt. We don't want to sort of throw our friends out just because, you know, they say they're going to meet us at a certain time and then they don't show, you know. Be gracious, obviously, but this is where we might see people promising more than they can deliver. Or a social group. You know, if you come and join our group, then we're going to change a certain dynamic in the community, and you go and that isn't what happens. You know, promising more that can be delivered. Some group organization, some friendship circle, and even your dreams and goals might, you know, you might have aspirations that that's going to do, you know, some action that you've taken towards a dream or a goal is going to bring X, Y, or Z, and then you get there and it doesn't happen the way you thought it was going to happen. So heads up about that one. Take those situations as they are, and, you know, don't lose friends over somebody promising more than they're actually able to deliver. Sagittarius, rising sun or moon people, the energy of this Venus opposition to Jupiter is falling, I hope that's going to stay, yep, is falling in your 10th house. And this is where you might be tempted to overindulge now. What might that look like in the 10th house? You might be, this is an area of the chart that has to do with power, actually. The 8th house is where we need to take our power back, but the 10th house is where we actually have that authority, you know, especially if we've got certain planets in the 10th house. So you might be tempted to overindulge your authority now, and it could backfire on you. Remember, this is an opposition between Jupiter and Venus that we're looking at. So you might be tempted to indulge your authority. You may also be tempted to overindulge your mastery. Like, I have the knowledge, I have the expertise, I have the degrees. You could overindulge your social status. And by that I mean, you know, leveraging your social status to get you somewhere now. And you might be tempted to say, well, look, it could be as much something like, well, I know this famous person, or I know that influential person, and leverage social status to help us progress in the world. And it could backfire on you. You might be tempted to indulge in some name dropping, indulge in some kind of not that this is a house of connections, so to speak. It's about, well, my boss is this, and this authority figure is that, and it's that social hierarchy you might be trying to leverage to get yourself where you want to have more success. The 10th house is where we have success in the world and how we can succeed in the world, and you might be tempted to indulge in that now. Not that it's a bad thing, it might work out well for you to do that, but there's always the risk, and I said this in the introduction, of not utilizing our ethics or our morals in doing so. So if you're going to leverage someone's social position for your advantage in some way, try to keep your ethics about you, because remember, Jupiter is higher law, morals, ethics, and it's opposite this energy right now. So keep that in mind. You don't want to cause damage to your own social status by going against your true ethics and morals in terms of utilizing someone's power and authority for your advantage. So where might you be overwhelmed with choice this week? It's in the 10th house. You might be overwhelmed with career options for actions you can take to lift up your career and progress your career. You might be overwhelmed with choice regarding things you can do to create more success. This could be good. Like, there might be plenty of options available to you, and as such, take the ethical road if you've got a lot of options for growing your career and your social status in some way in the world. This is also where people can promise more than they can deliver as well. So you might find bosses, authority figures, people of high social status are promising you more than they can deliver. So someone says, some great art gallery curator says, oh yes, of course, we'd love to have an exhibition of your work. Just drop by my office on Tuesday. And you drop by the office on Tuesday, there's nobody there, tumbleweeds rolling past, it's deserted, and you think, they're not here. They've promised more than they can deliver, and now is my exhibition ever going to get a chance to get up? Promising more than they actually deliver to you is not unusual, coming from people in higher positions of authority and power. So Capricorn, rising sun or moon people, the energy of this particular opposition between Venus and Jupiter is falling in your 9th house. This is where you'll feel it. And this is where you might be tempted to overindulge now. Maybe you might take on more than you can handle in terms of courses. I have about 5 courses that I've purchased over the years sitting there waiting for me to get to them. So I'm a kind of an illustration of this point. Higher learning and knowledge that is waiting for us, and you've just got too much. I've overindulged, albeit over the course of maybe 5 or 6 years I've overindulged, not instantaneously. But this is a week where you might go out and buy this course, that course, and that one. And you're just like, oh my goodness, when am I going to get the time for this? There's an overindulgence in higher learning. You might also bite off more than you can chew in terms of travel, trips, cultural indulgences, going out to some cultural experience, cultural festival, restaurant, that kind of thing, and you overindulge in your cultural experiences. You might also overindulge in some kind of a guru teacher kind of opportunity. You download a heap of talks or something by a particular person, or you get every TED talk you can get your hands on by a certain person that's sort of a guru to you, and you overindulge in it to the point where you never want to hear them speak again. Not that that's a bad thing. Take in as much information as you can is my motto. But that's where we're looking at an energy of overindulgence. We might also be overwhelmed with with choice, as I just said, with courses to do, with places to go visit on holidays, with cultural experiences that we can have. And we might also receive, when Venus is in this dynamic in the 9th house, we might be getting promises from people in places of inspiration, sort of teachers, gurus, father figures. This is one of the houses in Vedic astrology of the father. This is it is possible with this placement that you might be getting promises that cannot be delivered on under this energy by these particular people in these positions in life. You know, those university lecturers or judges, or making promises that they can't deliver on, or like I said, guru type people. So forewarned is forearmed there with that one. For Aquarius rising sun or moon people, bear with me. There is something making a loud noise. There it is on the back of my screen. I'll just take that off. Thank you. Okay, for Aquarius rising sun or moon, the energy of Jupiter directing its expansive energy in a challenging way to Venus, it's falling in your 8th house, and this is where you might be tempted to indulge. And I would put a warning with this one, because if you're indulging in 8th house things under this influence, it could go to the extreme and be quite detrimental. You know, you go astral traveling and it just goes beyond what your body can cope with. You might, be participating in a, what's that drink that they have? Oh, I've gone blank. No, it's not going to come to me, but you know the one. I keep thinking Paleo Santo, but that's actually something that you burn. This is that. Oh, it's going to bug me till I can think of it. But that drink that takes you on some sort of psychic journeys, or psychedelic journey. You might overindulge in something like that. It could be very damaging. So be very, very careful, because this is the realm of the chart. The 8th house is the realm of the chart that has to do with gateways to other dimensions, portals to other dimensions. And if you're overindulging in these sorts of spiritual energies, it could, under this influence, be quite detrimental to your soul. So be careful. Ordinarily, Jupiter opposite Venus as a transit is nothing much to worry about. It's just a general energy. But with this particular placement, it could be a bit more toxic than for other placements. Okay, so be careful. Overindulging in secret activities, overindulging in what was the other thing I thought of a moment ago? Going too deep with, past life regression, or going to getting involved in crime, and it goes too far. This is a house of like the mafia and hidden kind of hidden activities of an illegal nature. And if you're at all dabbling in that sort of thing, this is not the week for it. These indulgences might take you to a place you really don't want to go. So be careful if you're doing any shamanic practices. Be careful if you're doing any sort of spiritual practices that are of an alternative nature. Be careful if you're dabbling with sort of around the fringes of criminal society as well. It could actually be quite disastrous. But this is where you also might be overwhelmed with choice. So in the lighter version of this energy, the 8th house has to do with astrologers, psychologists, has to do with people who are doing like Reiki healing and that sort of thing. And you might be just overwhelmed with choice of those sorts of practitioners. You decide you want to get an astrology reading, but my goodness, who do you choose from? Well, there's Kesenya, there's Joanna, there's Lada, there's Heather, there's Darren. Like, where does it end? There's just an overwhelm of choice with 8th house matters. Oh, that's what I was going to say as well. You might be tempted to overindulge in the Tantra side too. Now, you might think, well, how can that be overindulged in? But this is a very sexual house, a very passionate house, sexualized energy. And it's when this energy is overblown, then you might do things that you regret. I mean, I think about, for example, Rajneesh, or Osho as he was known. would set up a lot of sort of so-called tantric practices in his ashram and what have you, and people would get on board with that, and then halfway through they'd think, hang on, I don't want to be part of this, this is not right, and they would, that overindulgence in, let's call it, in a tantric group practice could actually lead to a lot of wounding and scarring for a lot of people. So that's just one illustration of the kind of energy, tantric practice. If you're tempted to get involved in something tantric, and you might be overwhelmed with choice as well, maybe someone convinces you to go to a swingers party or to do some sort of tantric spiritual work or whatever, and you decide, this is not for me, it could lead to disaster. I hope you're getting the picture here. What Jupiter is doing is over amplifying with a hard aspect the energy that is represented by Venus in the 8th house. So there's this over amplification of tantric practice for spiritual purposes that mightn't actually align with your own ethics and morals. Jupiter, ethics, morals, higher law. And you might get halfway down the track, like so many people did in the Rajneesh example, halfway down the track of the process and go, hang on, I don't actually want this. This is not in alignment with me. And by then it's kind of too late. So I hope you're understanding the illustration. Be very careful for Aquarius people. I know I'm spending a lot of time on your sign this week, but overindulgence in 8th house things can be quite a dangerous thing. So I just wanted to spend time touching on that for you. We also can find that it's in 8th house areas that people can promise us more than they can actually deliver. So this is not the house of the guru. It is the house of the shamanic leader, if you like, or it might even be somebody who is leaving a will or a legacy. Somebody who has promised us, you will get my diamond necklace, or you will get my Aston Martin car or something like that. And they promise, you'll get this. I'll leave it in the will. Wills, legacies, inheritances are seen from the 8th house, and somebody is promising you this and it doesn't manifest. So, or you were promised something in someone's will and they never did it for you and it was never in the will. So this is where we might be finding this week that promises regarding those sorts of things, and if you're looking at the shamanic leaders or astrological leaders, Reiki healers, those sorts of practitioners of 8th house things, or people who run brothels and mafia organizations and things like that, are promising more than they can actually deliver to you, whatever context that might take. So be careful, Aquarius people. There are promises that may not be delivered on, and there can be a lot of overwhelm and overindulgence that could be a bit iffy for you guys. All right, enough already. Let's move to Pisces. Pisces rising sun or moon. Well, we Pisces people are seeing this energy fall in our 7th house, and this is where we might be tempted to overindulge. Well, what does this look like in the 7th house? If you're married, I don't know, maybe you're spending too much time with your partner and you get sick of them. You overindulge in your relationship, you overindulge in your marriage, and it's like, oh, yawn, enough already. Leave me alone. I want some space. It could be that, other people might be actually crowding it, and Pisces does need time alone. So it could legitimately be that others in your life are sucking your energy. The 7th house is marriage partners and business partners, but it's also, say, clients. It's also others in general. This is us, you, and this is everybody else in a chart in general. So other people may somehow be not sucking our energy. That's actually not the energy of this particular opposition, but we might be overindulging in other people. And Pisces is notorious for this. We give too much. We martyr ourselves for other people. So heads up, this could be an energy where that is happening, where you are tempted to overindulge in your interactions with others that causes you detriment. Be careful. And even doing so might go against your higher principles, your ethics, your morals, seen by Jupiter. Jupiter is ethics and morals. And when it's in opposition to the planet of indulgence and luxury here in the seventh house of other people, you might be indulging and having experiences with other people, and it goes against your moral principles and your ethics, and you regret it later. Be careful of that, Pisces. You might also be overwhelmed with choice under this energy as well. Now, when Jupiter is transiting the first house, it is making an opposition to the seventh house, and therefore it's stirring up the energy of partnership. So you might be overwhelmed with, and this happened to me just this week actually, I was overwhelmed with business partnership offers. You know, I was going to do one, and then another came in, and then another one. I was like, oh my goodness, you know, most of the time it's not there, and then all of a sudden there's more than I can handle. Business offers, business partnership offers. Overwhelmed with choice. We might be overwhelmed with potential, I don't know, love interest maybe. Not that this is a house of love, it's actually a house of committed partnership. And so hopefully you're not being overwhelmed with marriage offers or, commitment offers, that may be the case for some people where that might occur. Overwhelmed with choice in terms of partnership and collaboration opportunities, maybe overwhelmed with clients, which is always a good thing in my book, bring it on. The more the merrier. But this is also an area where people might be promising us, Pisces, more than they can actually deliver. Our marriage partners, our business partners, our clients saying, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, don't you worry about that. I'll take care of that. And then they don't deliver, or I want to buy this particular product, and then it all falls through and they don't show up and they don't buy the product or whatever. There is this energy of people saying, yeah, and it's all comes crashing down. So if that happens, don't be surprised. Just, accept it as the energy of the week and move on. Next week will be a different energy. So that's what I'm seeing as influential for Pisces people this week. For Aries rising sun or moon people, the energy of Venus is falling in your sixth house. And this is an area of life where you might be tempted to overindulge now. Sixth house might be, basically it might be just taking on too much in terms of exercise and diet and healthcare. We see a lot of the time people who are health fanatics all their life, this is just a passing weekly energy or an energy on the 22nd of July. But we see a lot of people who are gym junkies and fitness nuts and that kind of thing, and it's overwhelming, and it's actually not good for your body to be too much that way. So this is an energy of our daily routine, our health, our diet, our exercise, and we might be overindulging in those things. So remember, as I said in the intro, to honor your Venusian side, which is the need to have a bit of luxury, have a bit of indulgence, have a bit of pampering. That's also good for the body. And in the house of wellness, health and wellness, it's a good idea to take a bit of luxury for the body, if you can, rather than going down the road of overindulging in gym sessions or overindulging in, diet shakes or something like that for your health and well-being. Make sure you incorporate a bit of balance there. It's also where you might be overwhelmed with choice. You might you might be an employer, and this week could be a week when you've been looking for some staff and suddenly you've got staff coming out your eyeballs. There's more than you need in terms of employees, which are seen from the sixth house. So that could be one way that this manifests. Overwhelmed with choice in terms of employees. Overwhelmed with choice maybe in terms of gyms to join or that you want to join, or diet options, and you're like, which one's the right one? I just want to lose a couple of kilos and I don't know which one to choose because, which one's going to do what I want it to, and there's 10 different new diet fads that are out, and I'm overwhelmed with choice, diet, exercise, health, employees. You might also be looking for some sort of healthcare provider, doctors and nurses and, people who do like acupuncture and things like that are seen through the sixth house. Service providers are seen through the sixth house, and you might be looking for some sort of service provider and just be overwhelmed by choice. this week. That also goes for things like, interior designers or painters or builders or carpenters, the people who give us services are seen through the 6th house, and you might simply have just too many to choose from that you just don't know who to choose. Overwhelmed with choice. This is also, heads up on this, if you're going to employ somebody to give you a service, it might be a case of them promising more than they can deliver. Yeah, if you hire me as your carpenter, I'll do that for XYZ money. And you get 3 months into the reno and you've already paid them all that money and they're demanding more. And you're like, oh, that actually happened to me one time. Oh, it was awful. Thank God I've got Mars in my 6th house natally, because it gave me a win in court. But anyway, not nice. But this is where people will promise more than they can deliver. So in that light, it's probably not a good idea to sign a contract for any kind of service this week. I would, if I could postpone it by a couple of days, I would, if you're in that circumstance. If you're going to hire a builder, or you're going to hire an interior designer or painter or whatever it happens to be. Because under this energy, people in service industries may be promising you more than they can actually deliver. So use that information. Don't get angry about anything, but just act with wisdom. Okay, well, I'm not going to sign a contract with you until next week, when the energy of this Jupiter opposition Venus is not in action. Forewarned is forearmed. Hope that helps. Okay, for Taurus rising sun or moon people, the energy of Venus is falling in the 5th house, and this is where we might be tempted to overindulge. Can you really overindulge in your children? I don't know. I kind of think childhood's pretty special and precious, and why wouldn't you give your kids everything you can? But look, be aware that you might overindulge and it might cause problems with your bank account. And you might have no money left for food on the table because you've gone and bought the kids the latest Nintendo or whatever, So maybe that's something to be aware of. Keep everything in balance. This is the house of children. We might be overindulging our children now. And be conscious of that. It's also where we might be overindulging in love affairs and dates. For some people who are Taurus rising sun and moon, they might jump on a dating app if they're single, and suddenly they're overwhelmed with likes, swipe right, and yep, match, another match. And it's like, too much choice, in lovers and potential dates here. This is overwhelming. Maybe that's a good thing. Could be fun. But there might be an oversupply, overindulgence in that realm. This is also an area of life that's about creative expression, creative self-expression as well. So you might be indulging, and what's wrong with that? You might be indulging in plenty of time for your own creative outputs. You decide every night this week, I'm going to be writing my novel, and I'm going to spend a night tapping away writing my novel, and you forget to cook dinner for the kids, and you forget to, take the trash out and what have you, because you're overindulging in your hobby. They're little insignificant things that can be sorted out. And remember, this is a passing energy, so why not indulge in that hobby? Yeah, you can indulge in your hobby. That's great. But also in your hobby as well might be a really good thing to do. So yes, there's an energy of overindulgence in 5th house things. Now, do be careful of risk-taking, though. Because there's not a great energy. Get my words out. Jupiter is risk and gambling and so forth, opposite the house of risk-taking and speculation. So it's not actually the best energy to be going and indulging in, a bet on the horses and that kind of thing. I wouldn't use this energy for that. I don't think it's going to go in your favor. You probably lose more than you gain. So you might be overwhelmed with choice, like I said, regarding lovers, regarding what hobby you're going to do or what interest you're going to take. Entertainments, you might be getting friends saying, hey, let's go to this play and I want to go to this comedy festival and let's go out for dinner here. And you're like, oh my goodness, I can't choose which entertainment and pleasurable activity am I going to take because there's too many. I'm being pulled in all directions. Overwhelmed with choice in the house of entertainment. This is also where we can promise more than we can deliver. as well. Well, not us promise, it's where other people might promise more than they can deliver. You know, our children saying, yeah, mum, I'm going to clean my bedroom, and they never do. Oh my goodness, story of my life. Children promising more than they can deliver. Lovers promising more than they can deliver. Be careful if you're going out on all those dates and they're like, hey, yeah, I'm loaded and I'm this and I'm that and the other, and you get to know them and you're like, you're nothing like that, you know. It's not necessarily an energy of lying, but it's about promises that cannot be delivered on, from lovers, from children particularly in this house. Okay, so moving along, Gemini rising, sun or moon people, the energy of Venus is falling on an angular house for you guys. Might have to hold that straight there. Let's see if we can get that to stay put. Very good. This is where we might be tempted to overindulge in fourth house matters. What might this look like? Well, you might decide, yep, I'm booking an interior designer and they are going to come and they're going to redo my whole house. And, you know, you're halfway through the redo and you're like, oh my God, I've totally overindulged. This is too much. It's going to cost me more than I thought. Yikes. So we can be tempted to overindulge in something to do with our home. You know, we go to a furniture display and we decide that white couch, I'm buying that. Yep, put down a deposit, and it ends up being more than we thought it would be. And we're stuck with the repayments for months on end. We've overindulged and then we pay the price and we regret. Something for the home, something for the domestic life, something, we overindulge in our domestic life, we overindulge in our actual bricks and mortar home. Maybe we overindulge with family as well. You know, how might that work if we overindulge in family? Maybe we spend too much time, not that you can spend too much time with the family, but we commit to our family so much, or we give so much to our family that other people in our lives are neglected. Maybe our work's neglected or our friends are neglected or something, because we're overindulging in the fourth house, which is the family energy. We might be also overwhelmed with choice in fourth house matters. Maybe you're looking for an investment property to buy or an apartment to start running an Airbnb, and lo and behold, you're overwhelmed. Oh my God, there's so many apartments for sale. Which one do I choose? You know, this one could be good, but then this location's really great as well. And my goodness, that's got 2 bedrooms, but that one's got a car parking space. And overwhelmed with choice in real estate and property development and things, matters to do with home and domestic life as well. You might be, this is also where people might promise more than they can actually deliver in your life. Who's doing this? Your family, your maternal line, your mother might be sort of saying, yeah, we'll do this, we'll go here, we'll do that, I'll do this for you, and they never come good. Don't let it build resentment. It's just the energy of this particular week. Nothing to get head up about or, you know, upset about or anything. It's just the energy of the week. So if your family is promising more than they can actually deliver, just let it be water off a duck's back. Don't get too bogged down in you know, being offended over that kind of thing. Alrighty, let's take our thing off. Let's go. We're looking at Cancer rising, sun or moon people. The energy of, is that going to stay? That is always the question. Yeah, maybe not. Cancer rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of Venus is falling in your 3rd house, and this is where you might be tempted to overindulge. You might be spending so much time with the neighbors, having a beer on the back porch, that your family misses out on your presence. You might be this week, going to a street party or something like that at the neglect of something else, like some work that needs doing in your life. You're overindulging. There's nothing wrong with going to the street party, but it's like every night this week, do you need to be at your neighbor's house? You know, you're overindulging in connections with neighbors, siblings, social engagements in your community, your intimate community, workshops, too many workshops. You might be overindulging in just those social connections, too many coffees down the street, instead of actually, doing your astrology readings like I have done on occasion, but not very much. Sometimes you need that uplift from friends. But this is an energy where that might happen, going out for those sort of social interactions rather than maybe doing the work, maybe running your own business, maybe doing the admin. These are other third house things. So indulgence and socializing can take on a whole new level under this influence. You also might be overwhelmed with choice too. You've got 3 different street parties you can go to. 3 different neighbours have asked you over for dinner. All your siblings have said, maybe your husband's sibling has said, we're having a family dinner on this night, and your sibling has said, we're having a family dinner on this night, and it's like, too much choice from siblings and relatives. That can be a thing. Too many cafes to choose from in terms of catching up with friends, or too many workshops. You've got all these options online for different courses and workshops you can do, and it's just overwhelming. And which one do you choose? And, how do I know that it's going to be right and give me the certificate that I really need or want? Overwhelmed with choice. This is also where you might be getting promises from people that they can't keep, that they can't deliver on. So it could be neighbours making promises. Yeah, I'll mow your lawn for you while you're away. I'll collect your mail for you while you're away. You get home and the mail's spilling out of the mailbox. That kind of stuff. Promises that aren't delivered upon. And siblings saying, no worries, send the kids to me for the school holidays, that'll be fine. And you rock up with the kids and they're like, no, I'm going away to Bermuda for a week. No, I can't take care of the kids. Promises that aren't delivered on by siblings, relatives, neighbours, workshops that make promises that aren't delivered upon. You think you're going to learn about some certain skill, some certain talent, some certain ability, and it doesn't manifest at all. It's nothing like what you thought, and you end up walking away a bit sort of disappointed. Well, that's actually, it's not an energy of disappointment, this particular one, but things not being delivered upon, not being coming good with what they promise. So bit of a heads up on that one. Now I can hear the garbage truck coming down my street, so do forgive the rowdy noise in the background that it will cause. There it is. Nice. That's what you get when you record on Tuesday in my street. All right, Leo, you have waited until last. Thank you, beautiful Leo people. Leo rising, sun or moon is putting Venus in your 2nd house, and this is where you might be tempted to overindulge. Now, I'm a Leo sun. It's nearly my birthday. And in fact, it's my birthday this week, and I must be careful not to overindulge in too much birthday cake, because sweet food is seen from the 2nd house with Venus there. Venus is things that are sweet. Food is the 2nd house. So sweet food for Leo people who are coming into their birth month. There goes that garbage truck again. Sorry about that. Coming into their birth month, be careful not to overindulge on that cake, that ice cream, those lollies, Okay, word to the wise there. But the 2nd house is also money. It's where you might be tempted to spend money more, to go to extremes in money that with your money and your expenditure and your shopping that you regret. You might even be tempted to spend money, Leo people, in ways that go against your ethics, because Jupiter is morals, ethics, higher law, and it's opposing, so it's in antithesis, it's in polarity to how you're spending your money, against your better judgment. So be careful with how you spend your money. Double evaluate. Does this not only meet my needs, but is this actually according to my ethics? If I recently saw an ad for, I love Barbie dolls, pop culture dolls, and I recently saw an ad for Barbie now being produced with recycled plastic, which I just thought was so fantastic. That's great. So sorry, I forgot my point here. Yeah, that goes to buy. I collect pop culture dolls, and to buy a Barbie made from recycled plastic is absolutely 100% according to my own environmental ethics. Yes. But there might be something that is not that way. You know, maybe you've got a choice between recycled plastic Barbie and a, you know, wasteful version and you choose the wasteful version. It might actually be going against your ethics and morals to do so in how you spend money. That was a silly example, but you get the picture. This is also where this week we might be overwhelmed with choice. You know, you go to buy a Barbie and there's 20 different kinds, you know, and I use Barbies like, you know, recently, okay, I just have to say this, but recently I got myself 2 Barbies that represent avatars of planets because I just love that sort of those synchronicities and connections. I got Wonder Woman Barbie and Maleficent Barbie, Mars, Pluto, and I just loved that. But you might be looking for, say, a particular Barbie for your daughter. You might be looking for, and I know Barbies have all these feminist issues around them. So if you're that way inclined, I understand the whole Barbie thing. You know, I get we don't want to give women the wrong role models and wrong impressions and unrealistic ideals. I understand. I totally understand that. And we're entitled to our opinions on that particular point. But so it's probably a wrong material example to be given, but I'm going to run with it. So you're looking for a Barbie for your daughter because she happens to like them too, and you're like, oh, which one? Like there's a million different kinds, and how do I choose which one is the best one, or that kind of thing. You might be looking at a birthday cake for yourself, Leo, and you're like, oh, I've got these friends coming around for dinner, you know, are they going to like a pavlova or are they going to prefer chocolate cake? Maybe I should get tiramisu. I don't know. Choice, overwhelm, you know, too many options in life. So this is just the energy of Jupiter opposite Pluto. There's going to be plenty of options, and choice might be a bit of a, you know, choosing one might be the biggest challenge of your week. This is also an area where people may be promising you more than they can actually deliver. Now, this is not a house of people. This is a house of the resources that we can produce ourselves that support our life. It's a very independent oriented house, actually. Our resources, the resources that I generate to support my body and its journey through life. The 8th house, opposed to that, is the house of resources that belong to other people, that they produce. So it's a very pardon me, me-focused house. I'm sorry, me-focused house, the 2nd house, in terms of my money, my resources, my security, my stability, my self-worth, my self-value. But this energy is one where people might promise more than they can deliver. And we do see people like bank managers who are managing our money for us, our resources on behalf of us here. So it's bank managers, it's people who are, say, responsible for our investments or something like that. They might be promising more than they can deliver. Maybe we've invested with a stockbroker, or maybe we've invested with, I don't know, somebody who's handling our money for us, and they make promises that they can't deliver. And so just be careful about those sorts of things. It might even be a good idea this week not to sign any sort of agreements with people who are managing your resources, and to put it off until this energy has passed. And then it's less likely that those promises and those expectations around your financial resources, it's less likely that they won't be delivered on if it's not agreed upon under this energy. So, word to the wise. So, my dear lovely Leos, thank you. That is the conclusion of our Astro Weather Report this week. As always, I usually conclude with a prayer. Join me if you will. Energy of love, we thank you for the 2 great benefics, Jupiter and Venus, who do bring so much beauty into our lives. Beauty, pleasure, delight, sweetness, joy, expansion, all the good things that help make life worth living, the icing on the cake, so to speak. Help us to navigate the tension between these 2 benefics this week well, so that we can come out the other side feeling more empowered, wiser, and more rested and relaxed. as we go into the remaining energies that July is going to bring. And so it is. Well, thank you one and all for joining me. If you want to know more about what's happening this week energetically, follow along with my Facebook or Instagram pages, where you'll get the daily lowdown on what's happening in the skies and how it will affect you. Otherwise, I look forward to catching you with the Astro Weather Report next week.